potential for greatness lives within each of us. I dare. My name is NickyDare. I dare was born of personal hardship, triumph, and the desire to succeed. I dare, the acronym for integrity of diversity, adaptation, resilience, and empowerment, is the hallmark of my life, derived from learning to evolve through difficult circumstances. Growth experiences necessarily result from these challenges. Without the obstacles, we never would know the true meaning of success or feel the exultation of triumphing over adversity. My personal mission, therefore, is to help you encounter your purpose and live your best life by unearthing your inherent potential and finding joy in the journey. I did, and so can you. It's about personal empowerment and unlocking your inner potential. I dare, therefore, is a way of life. Please join me to discover your inner potential by sharing some of our own challenges. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening and joining me today. Let's make it a blessed, joyful week this week. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at NickyDare Radio, heard worldwide by millions of listeners, with your lovely host, Ms NickyDare. Our podcast, hosted by NickyDare, is your home for education to safety and survival, leadership, and inspiration. NickyDare is the founder of I Dare Inc., a registered 501c3 with its mission to educate and mobilize resources for preparedness and sustainability. I Dare is a grassroots credo and personal mission based on its pillars of excellence: integrity, diversity, adaptation, resilience, and empowerment. Ms. Dare's personal mission is to help you encounter your purpose by unlocking your inherent potential and finding joy in the journey. NickyDare is the published author of The Audacity of Veracity, a columnist, Women in the Field of Western Outdoor News, California's publication of Fishing and Hunting. Ms. Dare is a certified firearms instructor in rifle, shotgun, and handgun, RSO, Range Safety Officer, and CERT, Community Emergency Response Training Member, a FEMA certified training, women's advocate, transformational mentor, and a seasoned BPR change management consultant since her early 20s in transforming companies, and decades later she is reinventing her purpose. NickyDare's life has been spent passionately in helping others going through transformation, both personal and professional. And now, here's your lovely host, Ms. NickyDare.
by the way. Stephanie's smart, huh?
Yes.
Good morning, where are you?
I'm in Indiana, and I am good. The sun is shining. I'm in shorts. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful over here. I thought I'd choose like yellow because I was going to have another meeting shortly after this.
Yeah.
Afternoon. It's gorgeous right now. It's really super, 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 super gorgeous. Yeah. That's why we're in California, but that's the only about one thing, a few things that I love about being in California. Everything else, you know the rest.
I would move back in a heartbeat, but see, I would move to back to Santa Barbara.
You do, huh?
Yeah, I would. But again, I would move back to Santa Barbara, not where you are. So it's a little bit different.
Santa Barbara is so gorgeous. Let me tell you, I've been there, and you know, it's just incredible. I mean, there is the Santa Barbara by the pier. A lot of restaurants, by the way. I'm a foodie, so I eat quite a bit. So I explore all of the food places and everything like that. Now, I just warned you, I had coffee, but I was talking to the gentleman that I had a phone call, and I said, it's wearing down from 7 a.m. to about now, 10 o'clock. I need to have another caffeine. Shall we start?
Sure.
It treat me that I was pretty much kind of chuckle a little bit. That you said something about turtle, and I'm like, turtle? That's my pet, by the way. The only pet that I have. We're empty nesters. So my pet of 20-something years, 25 years, nearly 25 years now. So we'll talk about that because you gave me a couple, choices, right? Yeah, so I think that's what we're going to be. I mean, it's up to you. I'm going to mention both, by the way.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it all ties in, so it doesn't really matter.
Yes. I think so. Shall we start?
Absolutely.
I'm here with Stephanie Smart. The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and live well, the impacts. Women are the catalyst to greater things on this planet, whether we know it or not. I always say this, women as guiding force of principles and purpose. We do wear many hats, different hats throughout our journey in our lives. As a mother, as entrepreneur, wife, you know it all. We have multi-skills. We juggle every single day. We are also solution makers, problem solvers, givers to the world. We're all, after all, humans with emotional connection. We're all counterintuitive, insightful people also. With our imperfection, we still learn, grow, and keep evolving. With purpose and passion, we know we can achieve great things together. Aloha, da, bonjour. I gotta say that, Stephanie.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, selamat pagi. How are y'all doing? Thank you for joining us again this morning on another inspiring WETalk podcast. Our goal is to empower women to break through their limiting beliefs and achieve their personal and professional goals, making their voices heard. I am NickyDare, your host. Welcome to another inspiring session with us here. I'm here with Stephanie Smart. She is a truth speaker coach, author, and speaker. She's an experienced corporate business trainer, intuitive and wellness professional who has been teaching workshops for over 25 years. She says we're all magical, powerful, impactful beings. Too many of us have forgotten how to embody that magic and power in our daily lives. Stephanie teaches how to have a business and thrive both personally and professionally as you make a difference and impact in the world. Let's help me welcome our lovely guest this morning, Stephanie Smart. Hi, Stephanie. How are you doing, my dear?
I'm great. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Likewise.
As well.
Yeah, good to have you on our show. When you gave me this bio, I was reading it and I'm like, wow, this is incredible. This is going to be another inspiring session for us. So let's just go ahead and dive in, shall we? By the way, where are you?
I'm in Indiana. Indianapolis.
Okay.
The middle of the country. We're just hitting spring. My tulips in the backyard. I looked out yesterday and I now have beautiful red tulips along my fence. So I was like, yes, it's spring.
I know, isn't it? We're in Southern California. My husband loved to garden, so he gardened the tulips and also a bunch of stuff, bunch of like spring flowers that had blossomed. He obviously did it like before the season. Man, I can't believe it. It sprung so early around here. So yeah, well, enjoy it. The garden. Prior to the show, I chuckle a little bit on this one. Okay. I always ask my guests, if there's any specific topic that they want to talk about and everything like this. I think, they want to discuss and everything. So I ask you, and you gave me these two options, I think. I talked a little bit because when you wrote me, Turtle to Fierce Warrior Entrepreneur.
Yes.
Or can it be creating your magical life? Of course, the first option, like I said, off the air, it caught my eyes. You know why? Because I have a pet also, tortoise, of 25 years. It's actually a turtle tortoise, Yeah. So, high maintenance. So let's just start it. Tell us about yourself. I'm sure you have a background story that leads you to, to your this purpose and passion in your life. Your story that had represented you, who you are today. Share with us that little bit of background, why this was so important to you, and you chose that profession and career. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So of course, like many people, I have a long, varied story. There are many parts to it. It really, I grew up in a dysfunctional home, got through all of that and hit 18, moved out on my own, and really that started this process and deep dive into my own journey in drugs and alcohol, and ended up hitting bottom pretty quickly, but not before attempting suicide a couple of times, and really figuring out that things needed to be different. And I talk about that because those things of my past, just like we all do, we all have things in our past, those traumas, and they inform us of who we are, and we bring that with us, and as we do, we learn and valuable lessons. And so how that impacts me today is that I use those things as a entry point into some really deep personal development, and into looking at realizing there had to be more in life, and knowing that there had to be joy in life, that the hardships that I had been facing were not all that there was, and that really turned the tables for me. And I started working with energy work, and I started learning shamanism and learning body work, and just immersing myself in the personal development and self-improvement field. And I needed to find myself. I needed to figure out my life, and that process for me taught me the valuable lessons and the wisdom that we gain through those life experiences, and those have continued to carry me forward. And I've been clean and sober now for a little over 30 years, and that process, I would say, my kids today don't even know who that person was. They just knew who I am today. And I think that that's one of the things that I love about the title that I picked is going from turtle to fierce warrior entrepreneur, because there was this time when I met my partner, and it was fairly early on in our relationship. And I had survived my childhood by learning how to fade into the woodwork and learning how to basically disappear in a room. In essence, turtle, right? The turtle, the tortoise, they get scared, they pull in, and then all you see is that shell, and they're gone. They're there, right? Energetically, you could feel them, but they've like gone. And that process is how I coped and how I got to where I was, and it taught me how to survive. And that no longer serves me. And there was a time early on in my relationship with my partner where at one point she just looked at me and said, "Find a spine. I can't have a partnership with someone who I can't talk to."
Yeah.
And she was more vocal than that, which I will not use the words on air.
That's all right. This is an open
There was
thing.
a lot of fierceness in there, and in the heat of an argument, she just looked at me and said, "God damn it, find a spine." And I didn't have any idea what she was talking about. And I love, I had no idea that I had done that. Like, it was a wake-up call. I talk about how we stand at these points in our lives, these cross points, you know, where you can go in either direction or multiple directions, and you stand there and you know that whatever choice you're going to make is going to impact the rest of your life. And I chose to figure out what she meant and to change that, because I understood that if I wanted to continue down that path of personal development and path of self-awareness and making a difference in the world that I knew I was supposed to be doing, then that was really the only choice that was available. And I, you know, it's like those things inform us as we go along. And so that process started and just carried on. And I have multiple degrees and certifications in wellness professions, but I also have a degree in business management. And I combine all of that because I look at you know, why I talk about being fierce is that we have to find our voice, we have to find our truth, we have to find that spine, and then we have to bring it out in our world. And that is where I combine all of what I do, because it's what I've done in my own life, and I only know how to share what I know.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to ask you, I know a little bit going back to what you mentioned in the areas of personal development. You mentioned something about the process of the body. What is that all about?
So
I heard about that before. Tell me about that.
So there's a component in you know, learning about who we are that really means we need to learn how to be in our own skin and how that feels, and in essence embody our life, embody this physical body that we have through both the energy and the physical components, and blending those things together. And so there's a piece about remembering how powerful we are, remembering who we are, and we bring that out. And I wrap that back up and talking about that component of finding a spine and having a spine. It's like coming back into the physical nature of who we are, and knowing that we have this physical structure within us that moves us through the world, and that there's all this energy that vibrates through that, and that energy is what causes us to actually engage. And that when we combine and really embody that of taking ownership of our physical body and our energetic body, and having those cells move and dance and have the DNA actually like engaged, we find our truth and we speak our truth, and that is where we then become that fierce warrior.
The physicality of it, right? I spoke with actually more than a couple ladies before on this podcast, particularly, and they had shared their stories when body kind of
out of body experience.
Yeah, experience. You know, to me, I think that also sums it up, what you're trying to say, right? The body, is that something similar to it perhaps? What are your thoughts on that?
I think out of body experience,
like, you know, open, you know, when they kind of like look at themselves from bird's eye view and they go, that's me. They can be able to evaluate, the ability to evaluate who they are, and they come out of that shell, so to speak, and try to figure out the spine, like you said, right? Is that something similar?
I would actually say that what you're summarizing is really what personal development and self-improvement is about. It's the self-awareness, whether it's looking at my physical body or my actions and my belief systems, and then recognizing what that is and then making it different. And that
yes.
when we bring all of those things together is when our life can change. So you can't just sit there and you know, read a book or have that out-of-body spiritual experience and have the awareness. You have to then take action on it. And that there are lots of ways to get that awareness, right? You can have a near-death experience. You can just have this moment where you have this realization of, oh, my life looks like this, and that's not really what I want. Or my physical body looks like this, and that's not really what I want. That's not who I am. And then make the change. And it's that shifting from the awareness into the making change that most people end up getting stuck at, because we have to take action, and you have to take action again and again and again.
Key to take action. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes sense. You know, I mean, it's something that, you know, you go through suffering and you think that a pain, I mean, and you kind of like get stuck there. Oh, this is what I feel, pain. No, actually, when you're going through some adversity, that should be a pivot point where you can, hey, move now. take action. That should be it, right? Is that what you're saying?
It's some of it, absolutely. That's part of it. You know, when a good example of that is I've had a neuromuscular disorder for about 20 years, and finally have a diagnosis in the last couple months of Parkinson's. And that in and of itself, people are like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." But for me, it was like, "No, you don't understand. I understand now. I have a path going forward. I know how to take action that's going to make a difference." And at the same time, I have to take that action. I have to say, okay, I have this thing. It's a degenerative disease. I've been managing it for 20 years. I can either sit here and let my life fall apart because I know where I'm headed, or I can look around and say, what are the resources that I can do to make a difference, to take control back of at least whatever I can control in that process. And I think that when we get into these places where we have pain or trauma or an adversity come up, we have the opportunity to either sit in that and be, you know, morose and depressed, or we can look around and figure out what the resources are and then use those resources. And that is the piece that's really important. And I go back to this again and again. It's like we have to use the resources. And you know, yes, let yourself have those feelings, have whatever feelings that need to happen, and then what are you going to do to take action? Because we can't live in those places. It's like we are human beings, which you talk about at the very beginning, right? We are human beings in this human life, in this physical body. Things happen. And yet, at the same time, our life has to have some amount of joy in it. Otherwise, why are we here? And so you have to be able, yeah, you have to be able to manage that, right? If I'm looking around and my life is just full of all of the drudge and dread and ugh, then something has to be different.
That, right? What we can control is we can control. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so look around and see what that is. You know, if you can either turtle in and not control it and just live in that ugh, or you can come out of that shell and have a spine and a physical body and energy that lets you move into the path that brings you joy.
Absolutely. No, you mentioned, you know, in the accolades that I, at the beginning of the this intro, you said that you were, you know, with the corporate workshop and everything. Tell us a little bit about that, and if there are some challenges that you face within that field that you're in, or you know, some of the challenges. Share with us some of that.
Yeah, so I when I was newly sober, I got into a car accident, and as a result of living in California at the time, which was many, many years ago, they had a vocational rehab program where they would pay to have you go back to school because I couldn't do my job anymore. And I picked offset printing or acupuncture, and they wouldn't pay for me to go to acupuncture school. So I went and got a degree in offset printing and graphic design, and then I carried that through and got a degree in business management. And as a result of that, I started working with Kinko's, which, you know, it started in Santa Barbara, so I was in one of the original stores, and I just worked my way up through. And when we moved to Michigan, I ended up being regional training manager for the whole state of Michigan. And I love being a manager. I love being a leader. I'm really good at training. Like, I love that stuff. And I love the creative process of it. But I didn't like being in corporate so much. And I had this moment, you know, and you talked about what were the challenges. And I think the biggest piece was fitting a person who wrote their first business plan at 18 into a corporate executive position. And it just didn't work. You know, even though I had a lot of autonomy, it wasn't a good fit for me. And there was really two defining moments for me that sealed that deal. I was at training as a newly minted regional training manager, and I was at this training with and I don't remember who said it. It was one of the presenters, but they were berating their neighbor that lived across the street from them about how, you know, this person just, they would go to work and they were a postal carrier and they would go do their job and they'd come home and work in their yard and then sit on their front porch, and how lazy was that? And they just went on and on. And I'm thinking, that actually sounds really lovely. Like having that sort of simple life, right? And that was my first clue that I was in the wrong place. But then the second clue was I had written.
The aha moment.
Yeah, definitely. And I had written the training for the new pilot program that I was supposed to be putting into action. And so here I am doing program that I had written, I had developed. And I get this phone call from my boss. And it's one of those phone calls where you know right from the start it's not going to go well. And I answer the phone, hello, and he starts yelling at me loud enough that the phone is at arm's reach at that point. And he's yelling at me about something that I didn't do, that I didn't even know I was supposed to be doing, which, first clue, I had written this program. I knew what I was supposed to be doing, right? But there were other pieces, and evidently I wasn't following corporate something. I don't even remember at this point. But in the middle of this this tirade of his, I hear this voice, and this voice asks me that if today were the last day you have on this earth, would you be happy with the legacy you left? And that was
yes or no, right? Yes or no.
Yes or no, and there was no debating what the answer was. I was no. But it was one of those like knife stabbing in the gut, like really aha, check yourself moment. And so I quit my job that day, and I went back to school and got my degree in Oriental medicine and finished up some training and became an instructor in a variety of things and really started down that path full time. And it goes back to really looking at, and this is what I teach my clients, is that, you look at the themes in your life. I had always been teaching and learning and training and involved in healing and personal development, and I love that stuff. I love talking about it. I love teaching. And so being the job that I had as a corporate executive, I had applied all of those things that I loved to a model that didn't suit me. And so I then turned around and applied all those things that I loved to the model that did suit me in the field that was where my passion was. And I really feel like that's where, I had already been doing it just on the side, and I needed it to change to be the full-time mechanism in my life.
So it sounds like it was a passion. It has been a passion to you, but you just kind of discover it in aha moment. Then it's got, okay, I've got some clues now. And becomes what? A money-making career?
Absolutely. And it went from a side gig to a full-time thing. I had already been doing body work and energy work for a long time. But getting that master's degree in Oriental medicine was different. It was going back to way back when I wanted to do acupuncture and I couldn't get it funded, to now it's time to make that happen. And just really applying all those skills that I had learned. And this I talked about taking the things that you learn and the wisdom that you learn throughout life to apply them to today. And all those things that I had learned through offset printing and graphic design and business management, I took and applied right into being an entrepreneur and owning a wellness center and doing my own marketing and website and all of that. So I have all those skills, and I was like, I can just do this. And so it worked out really well. and so I transitioned that. After I graduated, I opened up a full-time wellness center, and I did that for a number of years.
As an entrepreneur building that wellness center, what are the challenges? Because I'm hearing quite a few, from different stories, obviously. I'm just interested in that because you transitioned to a few other career, I should say, right? Variety of. So you hooked down to wellness. This is what I want after you took your, the medicine license and everything like that training. Share with us.
I think it applies a lot of the same things where it's all marketing. It's all it's marketing. It's customer service. It's the whole big package of actually running a wellness business. But at the same time, it's figuring out what I wanted to do. And for me, within that Oriental medicine field, the herbs were my passion, and they still are. And so taking that, and I had a full raw pharmacy. So I had a room that was like 10 by 10 full of raw herbs. And my biggest challenge was living here in the Midwest and in Indianapolis, and having people understand, no, you want to make tea out of these twigs and leaves and you'll feel better, trust me. And so it was a lot of educating, and I ran a lot of seminars. So I would do a lot of patient education. I would do a lot of impromptu, come and learn about this body work, come and learn about energy, come and learn about, Oriental medicine and fertility, or Oriental medicine and whatever. And so really specializing in what I wanted to be talking about and the things that brought me the most passion, because that shows up in your business. And so it's marketing is really the biggest piece of that for me.
What are your competition? I mean, do you have, I'm pretty sure they are in your field, in that line of work, right?
Sure. So when I started, there weren't that many acupuncturists and herbalists here, and we still needed a physician referral. So I couldn't just go out and say, hey, come see me. I had to have a doctor sign a referral and give permission to the patient to come and see me. So that was actually the biggest challenge in building those relationships with the medical field to say, here, I really do have this expertise. It really will help your patient. And to that end, I did a lot of doctor lunches and education and seminars, but I also was part of faculty for IU Medical School had a program for their fourth year medical students where they did an alternative medicine component. And so I was part of that cadre of professionals who taught and then had students come in. So they would come in and spend the day with me, and I would go and lecture and talk to them about Oriental medicine as well. So it's bridging those gaps and learning how to complement each other. We get into these places where we think, oh, we're all into alternative medicine and that's all there is. But really it's when we need to allow both Western or allopathic medicine and alternative medicine to complement each other, and recognizing the strengths of each and when each is appropriate.
Now, you were just in Santa Barbara when I spoke with you. Yeah, was that also part of the workshop that you're talking about?
No, I was speaking at a weekend retreat for women empowerment called Soul Success Summit. Yeah, it was a fantastic event. I highly recommend it to anybody. The next one's going to be happening in July of next year in Sun Valley, Idaho. And it was a fantastic event with a whole number of speakers, all focused on empowerment for women business owners. And it's a great group. So I do a bunch of speaking as well, a bunch of podcasts. So primarily at this point, my entire business is coaching and writing and speaking. I don't do very much of the hands-on wellness anymore.
Okay. So that's pretty much it. Now, you mentioned about women empowerment, and that's a big deal right now around. I want to just get into this. What are your personal advices to other women out there in regards to the successes that you have had? Simply just following passion to become, the purpose in their lives, basically. What are your personal advices? I ask this to all of my guests, by the way.
Yeah.
That you want to share with.
Make a plan. Make a business plan. Get really clear about what you need and what you want and how you're going to go about it, so that you have actionable steps. And I talk to people, particularly in the wellness field. It's like, I can open up my calendar and my scheduling book, and I can have a day where I can look at all the clients and I can go, oh, I got to see that person today. Or I can open up my calendar and say, yes, I get to see these people today. And so what I teach people is to make sure that your calendar is filled with those clients. And that means that you're figuring out what kind of work you want to do it, how you want to do it, and who you want to do it with. And then that will funnel everything else in your business plan. And that has been, coming from my business background, I always write business plans. And that has been really, really clear. And it made my clinic really successful right from the beginning, because I knew what I wanted to be doing and who I wanted to do it with and what steps I needed to do. So, I think the biggest piece is we can't just step into a business and say, oh, it's my passion, I'm going to do it. You have to know what you want. And then speak your truth. And I talk about this a lot. Find your voice. Just like way back when I needed to not learn how to turtle, I find that still in my life, as a pattern. When am I not speaking my truth? And how do I shift that? And I think recognizing that and being aware to being able and open to that awareness to come out all the time to make then changes on that is really important. Like I was at a seminar myself with a coach that I was doing some work with, and I realized that I was sitting in the back of the room because I was sitting in the back of the room and I was having trouble reading the like easel up at the front that she was writing on. And I had positioned myself in the back of the room because I was having a particularly rough weekend with my trimmers, and I didn't want to disturb the other people at my table. And you know, I'm pretty visible when I have a rough time, and so I was putting myself behind everyone else. I didn't realize that. I didn't have that aha until I left the workshop, and then I was like, oh, God damn it, I did it again. But then you know what? So then at the next event I went to, I was like, nope, not happening again.
Not happening. Nope.
That.
You blocked that.
Yeah, you know, I became aware of it, and so then when I went to go sit in the back of the room, I was like, nope, that's not a pattern that serves me. And so recognizing those things, because that is how we become empowered. It's the ability to recognize and then take action. And that's the biggest piece is we have to be open to the awareness and then be willing to take the action.
Very true. You know, live your life, you know, pretty much with the truth and everything like that. I say this over and over again all the time. I was going to ask you something. I completely forget now, blank out. But I know it's something to do with, something to do with, because I don't write it down. That's how I am.
You are writing notes, yes.
Yeah, when I don't write things down, because I was just, listening to really, about your story and everything. I think it does make sense about taking action and, getting the spine out of the turtle on the shell and everything.
But the authenticity is really important.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But what I was going to ask you is that social media, the marketing side of it, when you want to grow your business, because you have to transition to business, right? And then now that you are saying, okay, I cannot be full-time with my wellness center. So you want to get into this because it is where your passion and your calling. How do you market? I mean, what I'm trying to get is that, people say, go to social media. Does that work all the time? Tell me. Or is it more like people are losing this? There's a point. My point is that very old-fashioned. I'm a very old-fashioned. I believe in picking up the phone or networking, one-on-one interfacing, calling, and then things like that. People now these days, everything is about this. Everything is technology. I think it's good and bad. What do you think?
I would agree with the good and the bad part of it. I think like anything, it's a useful tool. And I think like anything, it can be used appropriately. For marketing my business, I absolutely do social media. I absolutely do videos. I think it allows us to reach a broader category. And when we learn to really niche down our market to the one that is as narrow as we want to be, the ability to be out there in social media lets us have access to a greater breadth of people, which then has us be able to make that impact and make a change and make a difference in the world in ways that we would not be able to do without the ability of social media. I remember when, I'll date myself here. I remember when internet came out and I was in school and people were talking about how we live in this global community, and I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? But I was fascinated with it at the same time. And then we got internet, and I have just watched it grow. And I have friends on Facebook in particular from all around the world, and people that I have that I would count as dear friends that I've met in person, that I met through social media and interact with in social media. And so I would say that it's a fantastic, useful tool in order to allow us to reach a greater amount of individuals and to make a greater impact in the world. And with that, it's not all there is. That the face-to-face is really important. The networking, your local community is really important. Join communities, join networks, go to meetups, go to the chamber events. Absolutely. And I agree with you that I see a trend going where people are getting disillusioned with Facebook or all of the social media, and more of that in-person networking is happening. And I've said it all along that it has to be a joint effort. You have to do both. And to that end, I belong to a holistic community here, and we meet several times a month. We have social events. I go to other networking events. You talk to people, get your message out, because you never know who that person is that's waiting to meet you and waiting for where you're going to make a difference in their life.
I believe in that, by the way. Go out there and get out and face to face. Like I said, I'm very old school, and I have a love and hate in social media platforms. I really do. I truly do. It's exhausting looking at this. Like, I time myself. In fact, on a personal note, I time myself a reminder. If I'm on this more than 10 minutes, I think Instagram has like a note, alarm alert that says you've been on Instagram 10 minutes. So I get off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's really important to pick and choose how you spend your time. So, are you going to post on Instagram and scroll and comment? How long are you going to do that for? To what purpose, right? This goes back to, are you there just for fun? Or are you there for work? I interact with some of my family as a result of Facebook. And so, I'm on there sometimes for personal stuff. But if I'm on there for business, where am I interacting? What am I putting it out there? And how long am I going to do it? Because it will suck you right in. And then I'm not doing the things that I want to be doing with my day, because I've just lost it all to being in my phone.
Right, be productive.
Yeah.
Now, which one personally, and your personal choice, that is most effective for you, for your purpose in business to expand and grow?
For me, I would say LinkedIn and Facebook.
Absolutely. I find LinkedIn more useful than anything else. Although, on the caveat to that is each platform would have a different sort of audience demographic as well. I mean, for example, LinkedIn, they're more professionals, obviously. Although there's a little bit background noise saying that, well, LinkedIn is, all of these negative things, right? But I still find LinkedIn most useful for the purpose of businesses and professional level. Instagram, for example, I love Instagram because I post nothing but nothing, really nothing. I love to eat, foodie. I love to post the foods, and I love to post, anything that doesn't mean anything, meaningless stuff. However, I find it also that that's where my biggest audience is. Twitter, for example, it's just nothing but tweet, nothing but it's kind of sway into politics arena, which I don't really care about. As well as the other one, Facebook, dead. I don't like it. Sorry.
So
I know you mentioned just purpose. Family.
Facebook for me works off of in groups for the most part, and I post in groups and I post value in groups. I'm not in there for marketing. Like it works for marketing, but it's not the purpose of it. And so I'm providing value, I'm showing up. It's part of that being visible component, right? If you're not visible, then people don't know what you're up to. They don't know what you do and how you might be able to make a difference in their lives. And at the same time, I wouldn't make some of my connections there. But, I'll post in groups, I'll answer questions in groups, and then I run a group as well. And so it's really, for me, it's the groups in Facebook that makes a difference, because that's where the community is.
Okay, so with this said, if I may offer information or refer you to other people who are listening in the audiences seeking your services, how can we reach you? You mentioned that Facebook platform.
Everything, whether it's my Facebook page, my Instagram, LinkedIn, my website, it's all Laughing Dragon Coaching, which is my business name.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's Laughing Dragon Coaching.
Okay.
So it's laughingdragoncoaching.com. On Facebook, it's Laughing Dragon Coaching. And the reason that my name is that, because I work with energy, right? I work with the energy, and I want there to be fun. There has to be fun in life. So we have to have laughing. But the dragon is really important.
Laughing dragon.
Laughing. You have to have laughing and dancing. Yeah, because dragons are wise and fierce and curious and bring so much energy, and they illuminate. And so I talk about dragons being part of our creation and part of that DNA and our spiritual DNA. And I want that spiritual component and that soul level component to connect with the physical DNA. And so it's those twin serpents of our DNA spiraling around and dancing and laughing.
You got the turtle, you got the turtle, the fierce warrior, and you got the laughing dragon. Do we have to know any more?
No, that about sums it up. Add some water in there for the water person. We're good. We were just talking about, California, and I was born there. I'm from Santa Barbara in that area, and I was just back there, and feet in the water, in the ocean. I'm in heaven. It's yeah.
The same way. If I don't see any kind of water, blue ocean, stuff like that, it's almost like it's a neutralizing for me, agent for me. I gotta go see it at least once a week. That's why I'm here, I guess. I love this weather. I love the mountains and also the ocean.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like living your life completely grounded in your truth as well as your beauty and power and stick within. And I think it says it all, what you have done and everything like that. And I think I did ask you, what are your advices? Is there anything else? I know you have a lot of things going on in the future, perhaps adventures, anything that you want to share with the listeners that you're up to for the next next month, next year.
The next month.
Books.
Books. My book goes live on Amazon this week. So I'll be posting that out. It's called Soul Song Dancing, because we have to dance and we have to get that energy going through. And it's all about remembering what our truth is and how to speak it and how to embody it in our life. So it's a combination of my story and a workbook. So that'll go out live. And then I have a group coming up that's a revolving monthly membership group, and I'll be promoting that again. That's for particularly wellness professionals looking to go from broke and frustrated and burned out to thriving both professionally and business-wise in making a difference in the world. And that's really, we're doing this work because we feel like we have something to give and a difference to make. And it breaks my heart when I see people who don't thrive in that. And so I want to provide as much resources as possible to do that.
Yeah, do not be a prisoner. I say this over and over again, as always. Do not be a prisoner just from yourself and what other thinks about you. You need to get out there, that just tap into that purpose and find it, right?
Yeah. It's like if you've watched The Greatest Showman, the song "Come Alive" is actually one of my favorite songs in that, because there's a line in there that says, "Stop sleepwalking through your life," and that's what I feel like so many of us do. We just go through the motions because we don't know that it can be different, and we put those inner fire and that wisdom that we have and that those passions that we have, we put them on the back burner, and they get there, and then we get done with our life and realize that we never did anything with it, and it just needs to be different. That's why we get to create this legacy of a life.
I think that's, we talked about internet a while ago, right? Before the internet was even exist, nobody really talk and then communicate this way, like, hey, find your purpose, find your passion, ignite it, let's collaborate, share, learn, rise together, and all of this. And all of a sudden, internet was there. So we join effort and we look at each other, what we do almost every day, what we eat too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then, I think that's part of the world evolving, as a matter of fact. So what are your thoughts on that, by the way?
I think we have to be really careful not to get caught up in comparing our lives to what we see out there, particularly Instagram and the stories that people tell on Facebook, because it's only part of what's happening in their life. And when we start to get sucked into, well, my life doesn't look like that, my dreams aren't like that, then we discount ourselves, we take away our power, and we take away the magic that we have to bring into the world.
It's very true. I mean, I think it suggests so many different, I want to sway to the negative, because it's just the way how we react and respond to reading all of those feeds that's on your Instagram and on your social media. It brings what really in us, what the purpose of us. And I think that's why coaches, mentoring, those kind of profession really out there, and it's ever increasing. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
So many coaches out there, the healers themselves. It's like, I'm old school. Those professions that we took in college were really, really 101, business 101, and then now we have coaches, healers, things like that.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that, Stephanie? It's true what I'm saying, right? And
there is an abundance.
Yeah. The supply and demand, the technology in front of us that's, that we're adapting to. And then the supply and demand, because there's a demand. We're talking about mental health. I had a topic just specifically focusing on that mental health. And self-awareness, people talk about that all the time. Self-love, self-this, which is very true because it begins with you. Everything begins with you. Is seeking inward instead of outward.
Right. I think you bring up so many valid points, and I'll take this back to my soul song dancing book, and it's a workbook that walks you through the process of making a soul song map and writing a legacy that you want to be living. And how that came about was because I had been doing vision boards again and again, and the vision boards for me, way I've always been taught how to do them, and I know not everybody does it this way, but most people do, is it's all looking outward and looking at the material things in your life. And we need to be looking inward, which is what you just said. And this is what I've been doing with clients for so long, that it's about looking inward and remembering who we are as a person, who we are as our core, what's that spine, right? What are our non-negotiables? Right. And bringing those out into our life and making sure that no matter what's happening in our life, those things are happening. And you talked a minute ago, I'm going to wrap all of this up in what you just talked about, but it's like we get caught up, and I think particularly around the women's empowerment issue, right? When we talk about the internet and we talk about all the social media and looking at everybody else's stuff, it's so easy to get caught up in imposter syndrome. And I think as women, we are more susceptible to that than anybody else that I know, right? I see it happen again and again. And then we are feeling like, well, we're an imposter in our life. We don't have a worth, right? I look at all these people's things and I'm like, well, they're doing these great stuff. What value do I bring? And when we can look inward and get really clear about that and have that solid foundation, then we know, oh, this is the value I'm bringing. And this is how I'm bringing it out into the world. And so it's really important when you are in that place of feeling vulnerable and feeling like I'm not sure about my passion and my purpose and what my legacy is. And you look around and there's this abundance of healers and coaches and mental health providers and whatever title people want to give themselves these days. And I think the scary part for me is that there are people who label themselves that and don't have the skill set to actually walk someone through a process. And I'm not advocating being certified as a coach. I think there's a lot of different ways to get a skill set to walk someone through. But you have to have that training in whatever modality it is, whatever process that is. And as we're looking at someone to work with, as we're looking at, how do I find a coach? How do I hire a healer? How do I go through that? Really stalk them on social media, get some of their freebies, listen to their podcasts, listen to, get the information. Do they resonate with you? Do they make you go, yes? Just like when I teach people to open up their daily calendar and look at who they get to see that day and work with that day, they should be going, yes. That's that.
Oh my gosh, I gotta go see them. Right?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that every time that you pick up the phone or make an appointment with a coach or whatever that modality is, that you're going to think yes, because sometimes a good coach, a good mentor is going to challenge you and make you think and make you come out of that shell, and that is not necessarily a comfortable process sometimes, but they should always be supportive and have your back. And that's the piece that I feel like, we need to keep talking about that again and again and again, because that's how we empower people. And
I think collaboration.
Yes.
I talk collaboration. I want to just interject you a little bit there before I forget my train of thought. How everybody looking and seeing other people surround them, and then what values can I bring? Right there in that space, in that very moment, we need to realize and put ourselves out, out and just say, it's collaborating. Collaboration, change the mindset. Instead of competing with whoever, compete yourself. Rise. Collaboration defeats competition. And that's why I think that's why we're doing things like this. We talk about this. We want to do the woman empowerment, empowering other women, and then sharing our journeys to others. So you never know, like podcasts like this platform, you never know that your journey, your compelling stories can be someone's, solution, perhaps, someone's answers, perhaps. You know what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely. And it can be, you can hear one sentence on a podcast that you're listening to, and it takes your brain to a place, and then you go, oh, and all these puzzle pieces go together. And it's like, that one sentence may not have been relative to the situation, but it was the piece that let everything go click, 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 click. And you're like, oh, and then okay, now I can take action. Now I've got some place to go forward with that. You're talking about collaboration, and I tell this story often, but I was in New York visiting the Statue of Liberty, and I didn't know that there was a museum underneath. But we went through the museum, and there was this plaque telling the story about the Statue of Liberty and why she was carrying the lantern and the chains and all, and all the pieces of it. And they were talking about how the lantern was about shining the light, enlightening the path for those who came behind her. And I want us to shine a light not only for those that come behind us, but for ourselves and those who walk beside us. And that illumination of that path, and as we stand together, makes so much brighter and so much of a bigger circle that really that's when we really, really make a difference in the world, because we're doing it together.
Absolutely. So true. I agree completely with that statement. I love the lantern concept. That's so beautiful.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's one I like.
Yeah, when we stand together, exactly. When we stand together, we rise together. Looking at the clock.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having way too much fun. We talk a lot about Santa Barbara also. That's why. You're pretty much local. I'm in Southern California. I love Santa Barbara.
I'm there several times a year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, when you're here next time, maybe we should have coffee or something, like lunch or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm about like a couple of hours drive though, but let me know when you're down in Santa Barbara.
Usually when I go to Santa Barbara, I'm also in Burbank for a little bit as well, because my brother lives in Burbank. So I was just there as well.
Let me know, because I'm only like about, a half an hour probably drive to Burbank.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a conference coming up. I have to find it. There's a empowerment conference coming up in I'm not sure when. Maybe July. I think it's July of this year in right outside of Santa Barbara. That is going to be a great event. I'll send you the link for it. I'm applying to be a speaker at it, but it also sounds like a great weekend event. Out in it's a combination of camping and being at a retreat. So it's like glam tents, but there's going to be a lot of working outside and taking advantage of being in nature, which I love.
Yeah, I found nature is a complete connection to your soul. I don't know about you, but when you go outdoors, you just find so many that unique things that you cannot just describe, just you and the nature. It brings you closer, who you are, and you can be able to get clarity, focus, and just kind of like reset yourself to the core. I find that with nature.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a couple of videos on my YouTube channel where I talk about using nature to help you make a mandala to clear out stagnant energy or to get clarity about something. And then I have one on there about the energy of mountain and how to embody that energy to help really ground you, but also make it so that you're not as buffeted by those things going on around you. And then I talk about the energy of a duck. So bringing more animals
You're
in.
an animal. Right. Why is it a tortoise? Now it's a dragon, laughing dragon. Now it's a duck.
I work with nature a lot. I think that comes from training with shamanism for so many years and really working with energy modalities. And I use those things in my practice a lot. I do a lot of energy work with my clients. I mean, it's some of what I provide when you're working with me is we do energy work because it's not just that process of being aware. You have to recognize that there are blocks sometimes and things that come up and clear those energetically and use energy to support them. And I use stones, I use working with animals, I use working with nature as some of that.
Time flies when you're having way too much fun. But before we close in, I want to ask you one more time how we can offer the listeners your contacts so they can contact you for all of those things that you are doing out there.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. So my business is Laughing Dragon Coaching, and that's my website, my Facebook page, Instagram. Everything is branded with Laughing Dragon Coaching to just make it easy. And then you can pick up my book, Soul Song Dancing, either through the link on my website or off of Amazon.
Now, you will give me a link to your Amazon as well, right? So we can post it.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Any last thought before we close up?
I think the biggest piece is to just be willing to show up and to walk through whatever fear you might have and to get the support and resources that you need in order to get to the end result that you're after, because it's those things that make us just want to sit in a heap and cry if we can't make them happen. And that when we connect with our soul and connect with what it is that we know we're meant to be doing in the world, make those things happen in your life and do what's necessary to make that happen.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. You're such a beautiful soul.
Thank
you know what? I always go ahead.
Thank you for having me as a guest.
You know what? We'd like to have you back again. As
I would
always,
love that.
we want to see your follow-up about your book. Probably you're going to be launching, right? Perhaps.
Yep.
And your workshops and, all of these exciting things that you are working on. And, just come back.
I would love to. Absolutely. Anytime. Yes. Okay. We can talk about many things, and I'll think about some more animal metaphors to bring in.
That's right. Thanks for joining and sharing your inspiring story. And I know that it's resonating to a lot of people out there listening. You know what? After all, we women are the catalyst to greater things in this planet, the whole planet, right? Whether
Absolutely.
we know it or not.
Yes.
Keep us updated on your new upcoming or anything that's going on right now, ventures, and let's stay connected. All right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. And for our listeners, if you enjoy this listening to the podcast, do post and share to others. Share it, like it, tweet it. I always ask you this simple, small request. Facebook, like it, and everything. You know what to do. Fancy stuff that you do every single day. It feeds your soul. It feeds to many others around you. See you next time on We Talk Woman Empowerment, with our goal to bring women, empowering other women to break through their limiting beliefs and achieve their personal and professional goals. Healthy mind promotes healthy body. Thank you to our lovely guest, beautiful guest, Stephanie Smart. We'd love to have you back again soon. Thanks, my dear. Until then, this is NickyDare, your host. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and collaboration, not competition. In fact, it defeats competition. God bless. Thanks, Stephanie. See you soon, all right?
Definitely.
Bye now.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.